Welcome everyone to another unstoppable conversation. And I have Ellen here with us today, and I'm so excited to have you, Ellen, and for you to tell the world what you do and how you do it.
Well, I'm very excited to be here, LaDonna. Thank you so much. And I'm excited to tell the world what I do and how I do it.
Awesome. Awesome. So tell us, Ellen, a little bit about you, your business, and most of all, how do you help others?
Sure. So I'm Ellen Williams. I'm the CEO of the Salient Strategist, and I've been in technology for 40 years. I was way back when people didn't even know what to do with it, and it was a big fish in a small pond. Now I'm a small fish in a very large pond because everyone uses technology. However, not everyone knows how to use it still. So what I do is assist companies with understanding which technology platforms are best for them to support their business processes and also their vision for the future.
Wow, that's exciting. So when you bring a client on, what is the norm that you are exploring with them?
Typically, when a new client comes to me, it's because they've grown their business, but they can't get any further and they're not sure why. Sometimes you can't see the forest through the trees. And many times it's either they have outdated processes, too many steps, too many Excel spreadsheets, too much paper, or they did some great technology years ago, but now their legacy system isn't really keeping up with the way in which they want to grow their business. So the first step is to really understand where they are, why they think they're stuck, and where they want to go. And then I speak to everyone or almost everyone within the organization to find out what's really happening. So a lot of times leadership thinks processes are going in one direction where everyone's found workarounds or people have bottlenecks. And once I put those two things together, then I can go back to the leadership and explain what's happening and show them where there's room for improvement, both enabling them to streamline their processes and maybe with the implementation of a couple of new pieces of technology.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, do you work with only larger businesses or do you also work with small entrepreneurs?
I do work with both. So I have different services for each, and I certainly treat small a little differently than I would treat large, basically because there's a different conversation that's being had. The growth of a small organization is certainly at a different pace than one with, say, 30 or 50 employees. So I'm happy to work with any size business that's interested in growing and understands that technology is the best way to get them there.
Right. And especially how has AI affected your work or how you explain your work to others? Has there been a difference?
So there hasn't been a difference yet, especially since a lot of my clients are coming from Excel or paper or a legacy system. So the first step is to bring them into a more modern system, typically something that's on the cloud. And once we get past that and it's implemented and people are using it, then we start talking about how AI can be implemented as well, because you really want to understand what the processes are, and then you can utilize AI to improve on them. I am using AI internally with my own business, and it's been a great time saver so that my hours of when I work with the client are reduced some on some of the administrative work that I used to do, and I can really focus more on the consultative work and getting to know them and delivering more information because I'm not trying to do things less efficient way. So AI has definitely made an improvement in my business. So the ability to do that in a small business is there as long as they have the foundation ready.
That's awesome. Awesome. And I'm glad that you talked a little bit about you utilize AI, but you don't let AI do everything for you. You just use it as you need and to absorb some of those timely chores that you may have used to do that took 5 or 6 hours. Now, maybe they take 2 or 3 hours.
Sometimes even less. because when you leverage AI to do some of the thinking for you, then it's really just reviewing and editing the output, which is a lot easier than starting with a blank screen, especially since some of the work I do is process diagrams. So the diamonds and the squares and the circles and the arrows, if I can start with something that's pre-built and just tweak it, the time is much more efficient. And really that's the core of all the work I do, is enabling people to have more control over their time so that they can use it in the best way possible. So like I said, I'm not doing the administrative work anymore. I'm turning those hours into conversations with the client and more consultative work that benefits them.
When I talk to my clients and we go over time management, I always tell them time is money. And we've heard that, our entire lives. But, that's one thing that we're never going to get more of. The days are never going to get longer, but it's the way we treat our time and how we manage our time that makes us more efficient. And I think that's where AI comes in most and helps us save that valuable time. I know in my business, it has came a long ways. So I can only imagine in your business how good it will even be bigger very soon in your business.
Certainly. And when you pair two or three of them together, or even just take advantage of the AI functionality that's in tools you already use. If you're using a more modern tool, and I'm talking about everything from, process diagrams to your accounting system, even QuickBooks, or, a simple CRM system, customer relationship management that you might be using to capture your contacts and leads. Any modern system that typically is on the internet, otherwise known as cloud-based, they are starting to implement AI in their tool. Gemini at Google, Copilot at Microsoft, even times when you're like, no, I don't need help, thank you. Right?
Yes. Yes.
So you don't even have to necessarily go looking for an AI tool, because AI just continuously is coming to the tools that you already use. And if you understand how to start to take advantage of that, then to your point, you become able to leverage more of your valuable time. And that's the key, is really allowing technology to take some of that drudgery, for lack of a better word, out of your life. And it's all about the quality of time, both at work and at home. So you can really focus on the job that you have. So as an entrepreneur, right, we all wear many hats. And if I can focus on those tasks that are really going to grow my business, or the business development that are going to bring in more clients, rather than some of the administrative things that you need to do as a solo entrepreneur, then you'll see accelerated growth.
That's awesome. This is wow. Just wow. So tell us about your book, Ellen. I know you have a book out, and we would love to hear about that.
Thank you so much. So in alignment with everything I've just been talking about, the book is called Creating Time, and it's about being present. And this is for leaders, this is for solo entrepreneurs, this is for busy moms, this is for people who really need to understand how to better use their time. So I try not to use the word manage. I want people to be able to control their time, to get back ownership of their time. And the first step there is to be present. So much of our day can be on autopilot. I have to do this, I have to do that. Even this morning, I had an appointment and I grabbed my purse to go out the door and I said, oh, I want to remember to bring a bag because I know I'm going to come back with things. But I forgot the folder that I needed to go to that meeting with. So, I wasn't present this morning really doing a checklist. Where am I going? Who am I meeting with? What do I need? And when I got there, I was like so upset with myself. I was like, oh no, I forgot that folder. And so it's a work in progress, like we all are. And it takes a lot of practice to be present, but it really enables you to take a breath, take a step back, pause, even for 5 or 6 seconds. If I had paused and said, is there anything else I need? I would have been better prepared. And this also enables you to identify your day and what priorities there are. One of the things I talk about in my book is the difference between what most people call a to-do list, but I refer to as a decision list. Because if we're honest, we put all these things down, and it's great to make a list because then you don't have to remember. Oh, I have an idea, let me put it down. Or I have to do that, let me write it down. And the list can be long. I'm not afraid of a long list because really when you look at it, you make the decision. Am I going to do this? Am I going to do it now? Am I going to do it later? And eventually you'll prioritize. And as time goes on, whether it's a few days or a few weeks, there's just something lagging on that list that you've decided that's not as important as I thought it was when I wrote it down, and it just falls off the list. So all those things you think you need to do, in reality, you may not need to do all of them if you just give yourself the ability to prioritize them and create the time for the ones that are most important.
That's awesome. And everything you said is just right in the mainstream of all of us. All of us has a busy life, a busy list. Some of us have several lists. I always say put everything on one list because you can't be 3 different people to work 3 lists. But some people do have a mom list, a work list, and a home list. I hear that a lot. And it's all about those decisions you make, like you said. And I love how, it's not a to-do list. It's a decision. And I like that. That's the first time I've heard that. I'm going to steal that, Ellen, just so you know.
Be my guest.
And again, time is such a wonder because you never know each morning when you get up, wow, what am I going to get done today? I never say, oh, what am I not getting done today? It's always, what am I getting done today? And Ellen, I work better when I'm on my routine. Do you ever find that so? Is that routine for me is everything?
Routine can be very helpful. I think there's a couple things, and I've learned this recently about routine, and I found this fascinating, is when you get into a routine, right, then your body and your mind gets used to what it's doing, safe things. So when you start to do things a little differently, sometimes change can be hard because your brain's like, no, this isn't part of my routine. What am I doing now? And if it's an important change, it's going to take a little time to take that practice. But I had in my Facebook scrolling, which some people refer to as doom scrolling, but in my book I mentioned you can be strategic about your scrolling. Do some searches on your computer of topics that you're interested in, because the IP address, the way the internet sees your home on your computer or your phone, it doesn't distinguish. So your Facebook scrolling now starts to get populated with information that's relevant to what you just searched. So I've been listening to a lot of people talk about, futurist and time. And what I've recently learned is when you break out of that routine, when you start doing things that you want to do, but aren't necessarily part of who you identify as who you are today, but it's who you aspire to be. When you start taking those actions, the terminology they said is you start a new timeline. Now you're on a different timeline than your previous one. And I also heard amazing advice that you should take advice from your future self, not your past, because then you're bringing your past into your future. And if you want things to change, and again, this takes practice and this takes being present, what decisions are you making today that might be outside of your routine? And are they aligned with the person you want to be in the future? Visualize that person and what would they be saying about what you're doing today? So I've got a couple new tricks up my sleeve that I'm going to start putting into practice.
Oh, absolutely. Wow, that's magnificent. I never thought of it on those terms and in that direction. And I love that that because anytime you can learn something or be inspired by someone else, all you're doing is enriching what you will do, what you can do, and how you feel about it. And you don't have to take all the suggestions. Just take one at a time if you need to, but start listening to yourself of what your needs are. Sometimes we like to talk a lot, but we don't listen enough. And that is key, is being a good listener, not just to others, but also to us, ourselves, because we have a lot of things to say and a lot of feelings that we want to get out. And it just depends on how we use our time, how we use those techniques, where we're going tomorrow or next week, wherever those goals are. There's short-term goals and long-term goals. And that timeline that you were talking about, Ellen, is a great example. Get on that timeline of meeting those goals, and you can move them as you want on your timeline. So I love that idea. So Ellen, is there anything before we go that you want to tell the audience?
I would love for them to take away the fact that they can create time. Yes, there aren't more hours in the day for anyone, but when you're able to see clearly what you're doing, and to your point, listen to those inner voices and understand which ones are supporting you and which ones are not. And that takes practice too. That the ability to grow, whether it's just personally or professionally, is certainly within their grasp. And they can reach out to me. My website is thesalientstrategist.com. And again, I'd love for them to take advantage of my book, and they can find that online at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever they buy their books online.
Oh, that's awesome. So, Creating Time, that is a great title for a book, Ellen. It seems simple, but it's filled with lots of greatness, and you've given us a sneak peek preview of that today, and I thank you. And I just want to let our audience know, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And most of all, know that you can always go back and watch us again and pick up those key points over and over again. You can never, ever hear everything in one time. You just can't. You'll pick up something new each and every time. But until next time on Unstoppable Conversations, have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye now.